welcome to One on One. Today we have Paras with us, Paras Thapa, or should I say Mr. IMD. Alright, I have a lot to say about him, but we'll be going through the whole podcast and we'll know about him. So, Paras, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great, enjoying my holidays.
Okay. Fine. So he was brought up in UAE and India. He's originally from Nepal. So I have a lot of questions on those topics. Okay. So I'll say name of 3 countries, and you have to tell me what pops up in your mind first. Okay. UAE.
Luxury,
India.
home,
Okay. And Nepal.
mountains.
Cute. Okay, nice. Okay, so I really believe it has been a pattern which I'm doing since last videos. Okay, the way you grow up and where you spend most time of your childhood in, that shapes you a lot. So how did growing up in different countries shape your identity?
So, first of all, I was born in New Delhi back in 2003, and then I was there in India for only a short period of time, my early childhood. So, the only childhood memory maybe I could remember in Mumbai was in Mumbai. So, my grandfather used to work in IIT Bombay. So, I used to live with my grandparents and my mom and dad also because my dad had got transferred there. So the only memory I remember, because that was during my early childhood, was me racing against monkeys. So monkeys used to chase me, and I used to throw my school bag and I used to run. And then I had got my dad got transferred to UAE, so I used to live in Sharjah. So up till my 8th standard, I've been studying in UAE only, in a school called Auron English High School. So the earliest memory I have of UAE is that I had gone to the world's fastest roller coaster, which was in Ferrari World. I think so. Its speed is about 240 kilometers per hour, and it covers 52 meters in only 4.9 seconds.
Oh my god.
So that's the earliest memory I have about UAE. And talking about Nepal, so my relatives stay in this place called Sarangkot. So Sarangkot is actually one of the highest viewpoint of Pokhara, the place where I usually visit. Pokhara is actually 7 to 8 hours by road far from Kathmandu, which is the capital city. But by flight it's only 25 minutes.
Oh.
So in Sarangkot is it is actually about 1400 meters above the sea level. So it's really high, and you can see there's this lake, a famous lake in Nepal. So you can see the lake as well as the mountain ranges of Nepal from there. So the place is called Sarangkot, and the lake which is overlooked is Fewa Lake, which is the most famous lake in Pokhara.
Okay.
So I think so that's my
Earliest
memory I can remember about Nepal.
Okay. How frequent do you go to Nepal now?
The last time I went back was last year only, but last year I went back about 7 years, after 7 years.
Oh god.
So it's not regular, but yes, my few of my relatives stay there. So, and I also have a house over there. So
But you have passport of India, right?
Yes, I have passport of
Because you were born in India.
because I was born in India, but my grandfather, my parents, and me. So I'm a third generation Indian. So I have I identify myself as an Indian.
Okay, I had this doubt because I thought your parents are they were born in Nepal, but as you said that they were born here only in India. Okay, cool. Okay, can you tell me more about UAE life, because I'm really fascinated about lives in foreign countries.
So UAE is made up of 7 states. You call the states over there as Emirates. So I used to live in one of the Emirate, which was known as Sharjah, which was closest to Dubai.
Okay.
I used to study in this school called Auron English High School. People have this perception that because I was studying in a foreign country, I must be studying with foreigners or I must be studying with local students, but it's nothing like that. I used to study in a CBSE school. There were 1200 Indian students. My principal was an Indian. My headmaster was an Indian. My supervisors, my classmates, my teachers, except the Arabic teachers, they were from Egypt, Morocco, Iran, Iraq. Because it was compulsory to learn Arabic because it's their national language. And rest all is really great. People in India find it fascinating seeing sports cars, but once you live in UAE, it's very common. So that never excites you when you go back to India. That's one thing I don't relate with people living in India.
Okay. Do you plan to go back to UAE? Do you think that you have more opportunities there? So do you feel like after finishing our education here, you'll be moving there?
So actually, I stayed in UAE for 12 years. So I think so because I lived in UAE for such a long period of time of my life. I think so it is one of the door which has opened for me for my future opportunities. I haven't thought about it, but I think so I might go in UAE because I think so UAE provides a very comfort, a secure life over there. It ranks fifth in the world's most secure countries
Oh, wow.
in terms of security. So yes, I think so. I might move back.
That's nice. Okay. Did you notice any cultural differences between Nepal, India, and UAE?
So I didn't see any much cultural difference. So the thing is, UAE became such an friendly country, and it is known. It has put its known in the map. It is because they have inculcated and openly greeted all the cultures which to be accepted. They have welcomed all cultures. If you go back to UAE, you can see there are churches, there are mosques, there are temples, there is Gurudwara, there is everything. And you also get holidays for such when a major festival comes. Like I remember celebrating Christmas, I remember celebrating Holi, I remember celebrating Diwali. So
Eid also, right?
Eid,
Yeah.
because it's one of the Islamic countries.
Right.
They have they obviously prefer, I mean, prioritize their religion more. But the thing is that people living in UAE don't discriminate between people. That's what I've observed. They give equal importance, equal respect, no matter whatever the religion is there. So I remember there is a strict law during the month of Ramadan. You're not allowed. You cannot be seen eating or spitting on the streets.
Oh.
That will get you fines. But you are allowed to celebrate Holi during Holi. You can pop firecrackers during Diwali. Christmas is given a week holiday. So UAE in terms of accepting religion is very wonderful. But always there is this sense of comfort and sense of home when you come back to India, because that's the even after me staying such a long period of time in UAE, I think so I never experienced that sense of home, the sense of comfort, because when you come back to India you see everyone is like you only, everyone is playing, everyone is excited, but here also they equally celebrate all, because I remember celebrating Christmas with my friends. We do this game called Secret Santa. I think so
wow.
many people
Okay, yeah.
also
yeah.
might be celebrating.
Uh,
And in terms of Nepal has because there are many types of festivals. Even I'm not aware of. There are enormous number of festivals. So I have never been staying in Nepal for a long period of time. But in terms of their Diwali, their festivals, all I know is they celebrated wonderfully.
Yeah, because I feel Nepal is also very much influenced by India because it's so nearby. We share the border because of that, and it's really beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Next. So we have. How did the different educational environment in UAE and India shape your academic and social experience? As you said that in UAE you were studying Arabic, so that is a plus point for you, right? A brownie point because you know Arabic as well. So were there any other things which were there in UAE but not in India? Like if you talk to your, like you came back here in 9th grade, right? So did you find it hard to adjust or something like that?
So the main point is that up till my 8th standard, I was studying in a boys' school. So
Oh.
there were only males in my school, so I could only communicate with boys. I never had much interaction with females back in UAE. And but speaking about education, there was this thing called your first language was always English. You were supposed it was compulsory to study Arabic, and the third was second language. So second language you could select from Spanish, French, Malayalam, Tamil, and Urdu, and also Hindi. So I chose Hindi because that's what I felt comfortable with. But I don't think so. I don't see that much of availability of choice in India.
Right.
Because even if I wanted to study Tamil or if I wanted to study Urdu, I had that option back in UAE.
Yeah.
But I don't have that option in India. And back in UAE, I was studying in a CBSE school. But when I when I got shifted to India, in Mumbai, I was studying in a Cambridge International Board School. So I was studying in IGCSE board. So there, I did have few difficulties because the paper pattern was different, the way of teaching was different, and for each subject we had 3 papers. So the first paper was objective, so I had to learn how to do MCQs, because in CBSE, you know,
Back in India.
back in India, because in
Okay.
CBSE only theory.
Yeah, right.
But in international and IGCSE, they try to groom you very holistically. So I had to give my objective paper, then I had a theory paper, then I also had practical papers.
Oh my god.
So either I was given an option to do practical, or there was this thing called alternative to practical, in which I had to write as a the observation. I had to perform the experiments, but sometimes the experiments result and everything is given in the paper, but you have to directly write what will you observe in that.
Okay.
So I did find difficulties. Also in CBSE we don't use calculators, but in international boards you're given calculators. Sometimes you're also given formulas on the paper. You
Ah.
just have to put the formula. You just have to put the data and use the formula to calculate. And also in your 11th and 12th in international boards, you're given this booklet during your examination also, in which all formulas are given, all chemical, if you're studying chemistry, all molecular weights, all atom size, atomic weight, everything is given. So it becomes a bit easier, but they prioritize English the most.
I feel sad though for myself that I was struggling with
it's-
formulas.
But the English in an international school is very, very difficult.
Yeah, I can.
I think so. The highest marks when I was studying in an international school, I have heard, was 28 out of 50. And the girl was my senior. The one who scored that is actually studying now in Oxford University.
Wow.
So I think so. Yes.
But like as being a CBSE student, we never had objective papers, right? So when we came here, it was a little bit difficult to adjust to this, but it is much easier, which is what I think. So for you, it must have been a little familiar that it was the same there in India, and then in Philippines also you have multiple choice questions. So
Because
was
in my
that-
9th, 10th there was objective questions. I understood, but only I had only 2 years of experience of this objective questions. But I'm thankful to that, because whenever I'm reading textbooks in a medical school right now, I can understand the type of questions that can be formed, that can come on my come in my paper. Because just because you can, people think that there are 4 options, so already options are given, so questions might be easier for you. But people don't understand that in a medical school, all the 4 options will be closely related or very similar. So you need to have a complete understanding of that concept. Only then you can attempt. But sometimes, because I have been solving so many MCQs back in my 9th and 10th also, it gives me an upper hand, I believe. So because there are many skills you can learn as elimination method. You can use many of times you can take a smart guess as well. So I think so that's a bit of a upper hand, and that has academically boosted.
yeah, something which I know about him is that he studies so smartly, which is a really good thing to study, because I actually personally don't believe in hard work. I believe in smart work, so I associate with that. And Danush is always praising you that the way he studies is the best way somebody can study. So yeah, kudos to you for that. Okay. Also, I want to mention that he did a very successful MUN few weeks ago, and we had such a last Friday. He was also there, but the man of the hour was Paris. So and you have attended a lot of MUNs. So I want to know, how was your experience in MUNs, and what made you bring MUN to our college, that we should do it here.
So the first time I did MUN, so basically MUN stands for Model United Nations. It's a global simulation and a global small-scale version of the real United Nations organization meetings. So students like us come in the form of delegates of a specific country. You're appointed a specific country, and you are representative of that country. So suppose I'm a representative of India. I am known as the delegate of India, and I'm representing from behalf of India. And there will be a set agenda, which is a topic. Suppose the topic can be global security, food security in the world. And many people, many students, many delegates come and debate upon this topic. And at the end of the Model United Nations, you have to come up with a solution to that specific topic. So the first time I did Model United Nations was back in my 9th standard. As soon as I came to India, I had no idea about Model United Nations, because I have never attended Model United Nations or never heard of Model United Nations back in UAE. So when I came to India, my school annually holds this Model United Nations competition in this school. I used to study in the school SM Shetty International School. So they always annually organize this. So my friend had told me that there is this event coming up, so it is compulsory for us to participate.
Oh.
So I had participated and I gained knowledge from there, and I found it quite interesting because it's the first time I am seeing so many people debating upon a topic, and there are specific groups as in there is specific committees. Simultaneously, World Health Organization meeting is going in one room. The United Nations Security Council, the UNHRC, United Nations Human Rights Council, the United Nations General Assembly. So many of these committees simultaneously debate, and at the end of the day, you find the best debater or the best representative of a country. The second MUN was the one which I really outperformed myself. Actually, I've attended 15 MUN. Out of the 15 MUN, I was the judge. I was the chairperson of the last MUN, which was held 2 to 3 weeks back in our college. And out of the rest 14 MUN, I had won 13 MUNs. So only the first MUN I didn't win because I didn't have any idea about that. Rest all 13 I won.
Wow. You have even flied to different like regions also to attend MUN. I remember when we were in Pune and then you went to Nepal or somewhere
Yes.
to do a MUN, right?
I had gone to Nepal to do an MUN, so I was representing United States of America that time,
Oh.
and I won that MUN as well.
Of course. Okay, what is like the most memorable MUN you have done?
So the most memorable MUN was my second MUN. The topic was that Pakistan has been hiding terrorists in its countries.
Okay.
To discuss upon that, so that was the topic, and we had to debate upon that topic, and I was, you can say fortunately for now, I was representing Pakistan that time.
Oh no.
So I remember my chairperson said that we have to come dressed up as as a delegate of that country, so it should look like you're representing that country. So I remember the first day was, the event was 2 days. The first day was traditional wear. So I just wore a white kurta, white pajama, but I had gelled my hair back and I had put a kajal in my eyes,
Surma.
surma in my eyes, and I had come with a green color band on my hand.
Oh wow.
And I was debating that time. And the second day was I wore a black and green suit because it was the formal day, and same glasses. I had sunglasses, black sunglasses with surma in my eyes and my hair gelled back. And it was the most memorable because at the end of the debate, I had to win because I had come with the mindset that I want to win this MUN. But my biggest opponent obviously was India, the delegate of India. So delegate of India was constantly questioning that we have sent drones, we can see that you're hiding Pakistan. And it was, the committee was coming to an end. So in order for me to win, at the end I just said that either you give me Kashmir, then I will reveal the terrorist location, or else I have no idea where the terrorists live.
Oh my god, bro, that's a move. That's a solid move. Oh god. Fine. Also, he has done TED Talks. So I want to talk about that as well. How did TED Talk came up, and what did you cover there? How was it like?
Okay, so basically this TED organization, they came to Mumbai back when I was in 9th, and they were shortlisting few schools and colleges. So fortunately my school was selected that time. So you have a 1-year license. TED offers a 1-year license, and TED had come, and the representative of TED and our school principal and our supervisors and our coordinators had selected a handful of best speakers of their college, of their school, and I was one of them. I was very happy to be selected for the TED.
Hold on 1 minute. You were in 9th. You just came back, like you just came from UAE to India. It was just around a year or so, or maybe some months, and you were selected as the best speaker there.
I was selected because as soon as I came to India, there were many debate competitions, many poetry competitions in Hindi as well as English. So I was just giving my name in all because I wanted to represent, I wanted to make my name in that school already. Because my classmates were actually together since kindergarten. So I was the one I was the rebellious one, you can call that, because I was an outsider. To get accepted, I feel that was my mindset that time. To get and to also get experience, because I didn't experience much of this back in Dubai, UAE.
Yeah.
There were debate competitions, there were poetry competitions, but such an exposure was not, I think so, given back in UAE. So I had participated in Hindi poetry competition. I had won that. I used to represent myself as Mr. Shri Narendra Modi. Also, I used to write poetry back in back when I was in ninth. Also, there were debate competitions. There were elocution competitions. So yeah, because of that, I was selected as one of the speakers for the TED organization in our college, in our school. And then basically you're given training by few of the representative of TED organization. They give you a booklet in which you have to fill the booklet, and it will basically it will give you an idea how to groom yourself basically. Also, trial rounds are always there. They give you topics and you have to come up with an original script, an original speech, or else, because if it's plagiarized, I think so you are banned from the TED committee. So my topic when I had given my TED talk was individuality in the age of social media.
Oh wow.
So I was trying to tell people, tell my fellow friends that how in this age of social media be different from others. Just because someone is going to a party, just because someone is buying a new shoes, just because your favorite celebrity is wearing a shoe, doesn't mean that you have to copy the same. There should be a sense of individuality there. Because I've also mentioned this in my speech that people usually nowadays in the age of social media, sometimes a few people put a specific story for someone, but just because they didn't view, even though it has 300 views, maybe 100 likes, you just delete that out.
Yeah.
And just because your favorite celebrity is wearing a shoe, you go, you run, you buy that shoe, and you wear that shoe, and you feel really good about it. And it's not all about those blue thumbs on Facebook or the red hearts on Instagram. It's basically you have to stand out in this age of social media, is what I believe.
I'm so impressed already. No, I have been, but yeah, I have seen that TED talk. I can recall when you were saying all those things. I can recall, and I'm gonna share the link in the description. If you should go there and watch it, because he is just like us. He's a 21-year-old guy, and he has done a TED talk. He has done 15 MUNs. I think you're an inspiration, at least for me. I don't care about the world, but at least for me you are. That's why I really wanted you to be here. So I'm really happy that you're here again.
Thank you for having me as well.
Okay, next. It's about medical school. Okay, so in what ways do you think your multicultural upbringing has influenced your approach to medical school and your future aspirations as well?
Basically, when I was studying, early during my childhood itself, I had set my mind that I want to become a doctor.
Okay.
So wherever I used to go, I used to understand their healthcare systems, which I feel UAE has a amazing healthcare system. The way the doctors practice over there and the level of qualifications. Basically, when you see a doctor, you feel that you get the sense that he's a professional doctor, a super specialized doctor over there. So I was always inspired to do that. Also, in my 9th standard, because I was studying in an international school, I had an option of dropping subjects and adding subjects.
Okay.
So back in my 9th itself, I had dropped many subjects like business studies and commerce, and basically all the commerce subjects. I had chosen physics, chemistry and biology already in my 9th standard, and I was already focused. I was always studying biology more because I was always interested in biology more, as I wanted to become a doctor. So I think so my 9th standard, basically my life after 9th has groomed me more and tailored me more to walk in the path of medical. That's what I feel.
Wow. So it is India only which shaped you to approach the medical line. That's wonderful. I am actually in awe of your school that they give you such a wonderful stage where not only in curriculum, not in the academic zone, but in the extracurricular activities also you excel. So that's really wonderful. And I'm really biased about this, but I think only Mumbai and Delhi, these places are there which can actually give you that kind of experience. I'm not sure about other places. They can be in like Doon School and all, but like the way you are telling me, it's amazing. So yeah, the teachers there, wow, I really want that I can be there and I don't know. Again, let's move on. It's about love, okay? So, what did people who raised you taught you about love?
So my parents have always told me that you only live once and nothing in life is promised except death.
Right.
So just because you lose someone doesn't mean that you stop focusing on your dreams, your goals. You have responsibilities. You have to walk through the hard and the difficult phase of your life even after you lose someone. And also that you only live once, so enjoy your life to the fullest and be as successful as you can, because you may not get a chance to do it again. Is what I believe, and it's what they said.
I want to share something here because, as he said, that his parents said that thing to him. He lost his father last year, and he has done a lot because his father wanted him to see this way, like the ramp walk part. It's something which your father's dream it was, right? So, can you share something about your dad? Because I think you're a lot like him. I've not met him personally, but that's what I believe.
So my dad used to work in Godrej company. He was the North and the West India head of security solutions department. Basically, the CCTV cameras, the lockers, that department. He was the the North and the West head of India. My dad actually did his schooling from St. Xavier's College in Mumbai.
Okay.
His classmates were Nikhil Advani, the director, famous movie director in Bollywood, and his senior was Twinkle Khanna, which is the wife of Akshay Kumar.
Yeah.
And my dad back in his time he really excelled in sports, so that's why he used to study in scholarship in St. Xavier's. My dad actually he was an athlete basically. He was a sprinter, he was a javelin thrower, he was also a boxer during his time.
Wow.
And my dad used to play table tennis. My dad used to go for high jump, long jumps, and basically there's many things that my dad had done which I don't remember also, don't recall also. And my dad also used to do modeling back in his time.
Wow.
So maybe that's why my dad wanted me to him to see that I did the ramp walk.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, how has your relationship with family evolved over the years, especially after your father's passing?
So even after my father passed away, I don't think so there has been much difference in the relation between me and my mother. I have a younger brother as well. I was the same before and I'm the same now as well. But the only thing is that my dad's responsibility is being shared with my mom, and I have taken the half responsibility because I have a younger brother as well. So I don't think I'm still as close as I'm close with my mother back when my dad was there.
So how do you manage them? Like, you're a medical student, and if not to deny, I don't want to deny this fact that the life as a medical student is not that easy. So how do you manage all those challenges? Because when somebody was there to look after everything, but now you have to be there to see what is happening with respect to finance and other things as well. So how do you manage that?
I think so. The thing I appreciate is that my dad, from a very early age, has groomed me in such a way that he has made I'm a very headstrong person, and the confidence, the way of my thinking is all because of my dad, and also I think so. Time management is the most crucial thing over here, because even though you're a medical student, it's not like you never have time for yourself. The only thing is that few medical students like to sleep, they spend time on themselves, but I don't have that luxury left in my life, so I have to spend that much time, at least a huge chunk of the time, looking after my younger brother and talking to my mother, because as I told that my mother and myself share the responsibilities that my dad used to bear. So I do have to look after, I do have to check if any problem is happening, if my brother is facing any problems, or if my mother is facing any difficulties, if she wants to buy something, if she doesn't understand anything. So yeah.
So, would you like to give any advice to someone who is facing the similar challenges as you have encountered? Do you have something to say?
The only thing I can say is that love your parents, obviously, first of all. Never take them for granted. Listen to them, whatever they say, and be headstrong. Manage your time properly, and if something like this, if you experience would touch, you don't experience such things. But if you experience such thing, there's nothing you can do about it, because no matter how much ever you cry and no matter how much ever you remember them, they won't come back. So cherish the memories, keep a smile on your face, and basically the time you had with your parents, just fold that page, because that was the most memorable moment you had with your family, and just move on, because you still have a novel to complete in your life. That's what I believe.
Lovely. Okay, talking about memories, what is the most treasured memory you have throughout your life?
I think so. The most treasured memory is so there's 7 years age gap between me and my younger brother.
Okay.
So my younger brother was born in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates only. So I used to go to karate classes back then, and my mom had called me that my aunt had called me that she came to pick me up, and she told me that your mom is in the hospital and we have to go, because I was not aware if I was having a younger brother or younger sister that time, because the doctors back then had told that I was going to get a younger sister.
Okay.
So I was mentally prepared that I have a younger sister, and I was only 7 years that time. So I went back, I ran to my home, I changed my clothes, I showered, I changed to my best clothes, and then I got on the taxi and went to the hospital. And when I went to the hospital, there was one small bed. So my younger brother was sleeping there. So first I saw his nails and all. His nails were all rainbow colors. So I was very confused at how can such people, that people have rainbow color nails, and my brother was born with very long hair when he was born.
Oh my god.
So they had put his hair back and tied a small pony when he was born, and so that's the most treasured memory I have, seeing my brother for the first time.
Wow. This reminds me of my brother. He's also like 6 years younger than me, and I was in second standard when I got to know that he has been delivered to the world. My father came and picked me up from the school, and we went, and he was there in the nursery, lying there. I was not allowed to go inside and see, but I was just peeking. My father held me in his arms, and he was like, he's there. I always knew that he's going to be a boy. So I had a challenge, with my friend, that she said that it's going to be a girl, because she also had a younger girl, like sister. So I said no, I am very sure it's going to be a boy. And so yeah, that's very cute. Okay. You're a Gemini. Okay, we share the same month. Mine is 12th June. It's just 2 days apart. Is 14th June. So, what part of your zodiac sign do you most relate to?
So according to every Gemini, and obviously Gemini are always the best zodiac signs that's out there. The thing which I relate to most, I think so, we are very clever. We are
Okay.
very clever, but we are very impulsive as well. I think so that's one of the negative part of zodiac, the Gemini zodiac sign. But also we are lovable, but when we get angry very fast, and we say something out of angerness, but then we start
Feeling bad
feeling
about
bad
it.
about it, that what have we done, and we are basically we are the first ones to go and say sorry then.
Right.
And then I think so, yes, we are smart, I think so, we are clever, we are forward thinkers, and we are lovable as well, and we can gel very fast with people. We are we are like social butterflies, and also I think so we are very funny as well.
Yeah, we are.
Geminis are very funny.
A Scorpio is disagreeing there, I can see. Okay. Okay. So I know the answer because I asked you this off camera. But is there any movie, book, or a show that significantly impacted your life, or if not, just tell me your favorite show or movie.
First of all, if any web series is impacting your life, means there's something wrong. You should never listen to such dramas or basically fictional shows. But I think so. In YouTube, there are many web series like Kota Factory. I think so that's very inspiring. Kota Factory is very inspiring. Operation MBBS, it shows a glimpse of what happens in medical school. But what I enjoyed watching was Breaking Bad and Peaky Blinders, I think.
Okay. Oh, you were mentioning Coda Factory. It reminded me of 12th Fail. It was also a very
Yes,
good
12th
watch.
Fail movie was very well.
It was a very good watch, right? Okay. So, looking back, what are you most proud of, and what you would have done differently?
According to me, I'm still not proud of myself yet. Maybe when I get a medical degree, when I'm a very good specialized doctor, maybe then I'll feel proud of myself. And looking back, I don't think so there's anything that I would want to change, because I'm happy as how my life is going on actually.
Ah, nice. Okay. Okay. So it's just a random piece of advice. If I ask you to give someone a random piece of advice, what it would be? Anything.
A random piece of advice I think is, if you see it up here, then I think so you can have it for real. That's the only advice I can give.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's really nice. Yeah. Okay. So I know you don't have the answer for this one, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Your house containing everything is on fire, and after saving your loved ones and pets, you have time to make a final dash to save any one item. What it would be?
I think so. Even though I don't have an answer, but thinking of it now, the easiest and the most answered question, the answer will be your phone, because I think so. You have everything in your phone,
Huh.
from your certificates, pictures, from your documents, to your text messages, your photos,
Bank account.
everything, your bank account, your UPI ID.
Yeah.
I think so. If you have a phone and a Wi-Fi or a mobile data, I think so you're sorted for life then.
Yeah, true. Okay. So, guys, in ISD, when he won the Mr. IMD, he also did. There's this thing which happens in our college. It's called lip syncing, and he played a rapper there. And apart from that, I know that you're really interested in rapping, in music, right? So, can you drop a few lines from your favorite rap?
Uh, Thinking of it now, even though I listen to so much, but
Nothing
during
is
the
clicking
time,
right now.
nothing clicks. But I think so. I think so. The Eminem songs are really good. So I'll just sing the Mockingbird song, which is Eminem wrote for his daughter. Haley, I know you miss your mom, and I know you miss your dad when I'm gone, but trying to give you the life that I never had. I can see you sad, if you when you smile, even when you laugh. I can see it in your eyes, deep inside you wanna cry, cause you're scared. I am there, Dad is with you in your praise, no more crying, wiped in tears. Dad is here, no more nightmares.
Lovely. Okay. Food. Now we're gonna talk about food.
Yes.
Tell me, first of all, what are the cuisines or what are the exotic food which are available in UAE and Nepal? Something which was the indigenous product.
So I think so. Everything is very similar of Nepal and India. So I don't think so. There's anything exquisite over there or anything exclusive. But in UAE, I did have a turkey. Turkey is very common in UAE. You get lamb in UAE. I had lamb shawarma. I had turkey sandwich, and you get lots of meat, lots of different kinds of meats. You get coiled eggs also in UAE actually. Coil's eggs. You get camel's milk. You get goat's milk over there.
Yeah, I know about that. Yeah.
Cat. I think so. You get camel's meat also in UAE.
Oh, that is.
So I think so. That's
Okay. So which was the best meat you've ever had?
according to me. Once I was traveling from Mumbai to UAE back. So in the flight I had this shawarma. It was lamb shawarma. So I think so that's still my favorite.
Oh, okay. Okay. Again. So if you could only eat one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Staying in Philippines, I think so. I really enjoy eating chicken pastel because it has rice as well as chicken in it. So I think so. That's currently my favorite. Just
Okay, that is actually it can be a comfort food as well. It's so good, like shredded chicken, a little chili oil, and rice.
Rice.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the most unusual food you have ever tried?
the most unusual food was the turkey sandwich which I had. I was not aware that it was turkey actually. I thought it was chicken. When I started eating, I didn't like the taste much. It was smelling a bit different as well. But then when I read the label, because this was back in UAE and I was just a kid that time. So it was written turkey sandwich. So I didn't enjoy eating that somehow.
Okay. Also, he's a sneakerhead. How many pairs of shoes do you own?
I think so about 12.
Okay, 12. Fine. Which is your favorite brand?
Jordan, Nike Jordans.
Okay. Okay. So, can you tell me, was there any moment where you went to great lengths to get a pair of shoes? Any particular pair of shoes?
So I think so this was back in 2022. There was the shoes releasing during the month of Christmas, which was December. It was Jordan 11 Cherry Red. So it was a Jordan, Nike Jordan, and the model was Jordan 11, and they had come in this red and white color. It would reminded of me of the Christmas theme as well. So I really liked that shoes. So I had searched online. I searched online about the shoes. I researched, and there was a tremendous demand of them for back in the US. And usually nowadays in India, especially in Bombay and Bangalore, there is this sneaker culture which is rising up. So sometimes you need to stand in a long queues and wait for hours to get a sneaker. So according to me, I thought that was the sneaker as well. So I remember the day the shoes was launching, I took a train. I changed 2 trains in the morning. 6 a.m. I had left my house to get that shoes. And because usually there are lines and the store was opening at 11 o'clock in the 11 a.m.
Oh my god.
So I reached there by 7:38, and I was just waiting there for the shop to open. And as soon as the shop opened, I went and grabbed myself that shoes.
Nice. Okay. Sports. Like as you told that your father was an athlete. He played so many sports. So I think that gene transmitted from there to you. So you also play a lot of sports. So what's your most memorable sporting moment, either as a participant or as a fan?
So back during my childhood, I played many sports. I played football, I played basketball, I played handball, swimming, roller skates. I did karate. I'm a second dan black belt in karate as well, and I used to play cricket, but I didn't play that professionally. Rest all I have tried. I used to play at club levels as well. So the most memorable I think so was me winning in a karate competition. It was basically a fight competition between many clubs. So I had won gold medal that time. So I think so that's the most memorable time. So you wear all headgears, you have your gloves on, and you fight with different club representatives.
Do you miss that time that you at that time you were able to play so many sports? Do you feel like, what if I could play all the sports again now?
I think so. It's better off retired now. You're in medical school. I think so. You should just focus on medical school. When you get time, sleep, talk to your parents, go out. I don't think so. You get much time to play sports here.
Okay. What sport do you enjoy the most out of all these you mentioned?
I think so. Football and basketball are the two.
You also play basketball till
Yes.
now, right?
Yes, I still play basketball till now.
Okay. I don't know about this one, but if you could play a match against any athlete in the world, which would you choose and why?
I think so. I was really fond of Kobe Bryant. Unfortunately, rest in peace, he passed away a few years back. So I think so. The way Kobe's mentality is there. It's known as Black Mamba's mentality. The way he approaches the game and the way he plays with seriousness. It's because usually people say you play for enjoying, but he played to win. So I think so. That's the one player I would have loved to play with if I had an opportunity.
That's all. My questions have ended, and that was a lot, but it was very nice. You are my friend. I know a lot about you already, but to showcase this to the world, that is something I was looking forward to, and I think I have achieved it. So I'm really happy.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Also, guys, please subscribe to her. Please like her video and watch the complete video, so
Yeah.
that if any monetization is there,
You can get the share. But yeah, I really wanted to subscribe, guys. Only 79% people, they watch and they go. They don't subscribe the channel. So the remaining are just the one who are subscribers. So please subscribe it. Really. Okay. Thank you so much.
thank you.
Yeah, okay. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.